What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. Now, today we are going to be going over our Week 3 reviews, reviewing our predictions from our Week 3 preview, and seeing who got what right. But nonetheless, this was a pretty good week of CFL football because you had some really, really good matchups in here. Carter, what was your favorite matchup of the week? And also, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, first off, I'm doing really good. In terms of my favorite matchup, I don't know. Like, are we talking about a competitive game or a game that I found fun to watch?
Because I know what you're going to say. The Bombers.
Well, yes and no. However, it was very interesting seeing what a lot of people thought would be the top team in the East struggling. That was fun to watch.
I bet it was, so, especially live.
And it was fun for you to watch, I'm sure. But we should get right into it.
It was. It was, but yeah, nonetheless, let's jump right into the Saskatchewan game against the Montreal Alouettes, where I called it. Montreal finally wins after two really tough games to start the season. They win one against Saskatchewan by a score of 37-13. Everything I thought that going into this game that could possibly happen happened. Montreal was played really, really good. Their first half of the game was as good as you could ask for. They had 13 points in the first quarter, 10 in the second, and after that it was 7 in the last two. They were just consistent the entire game, and they really picked apart a Saskatchewan team that I think a lot of people expected to easily get this dub against a team that just couldn't hold on to victories and just falling too short as well in the Alouettes. But this was a great game. You go over and you look at the throwing. Fajardo was just, again, not very good in my opinion. Only 60%, 17 for 28. You're not going to win football games in the CFL throwing that inconsistent, especially with 2 interceptions. Then you go over to Trevor Harris. He wasn't immaculate either. He only went 16 for 22, 72%, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, still throwing for 262 yards. Not a bad game for him, don't get me wrong, but I just think that the team, the Alouettes, they just finally clicked and were able to play a consistent 4 quarters of football, and that's what really won them this game and cost them the other 2 in week 1 and 2.
This is where Saskatchewan needed to bounce back, and they didn't. This is where, last game they had won, but concerningly so, and I thought that maybe that at least scare would be enough to be a bit of a kick in the ass to really get going, but not against Montreal. It appears that Montreal really has finally started to kind of rally around after having that stand-back injury, but realizing that there's still a season to be played.
Absolutely.
You can't shut down because one guy's out of the lineup. I'm looking at you, Winnipeg Jets. But basically, yeah. So overall, they didn't bounce back, and Montreal takes the dub, and this is big win for their home opener. It was their home opener, wasn't it?
Montreal, it was, I believe. Yeah. No, yeah, we know it was. It was their home opener.
So yeah, but I think that'll bring us into our next game, which was the Hamilton Tiger Cats versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So this was quite an interesting game to be at. It was a whiteout game, sort of, for the Bombers. There was a dress code. However, I don't think that a lot of people heard the memo. It was about kind of 50% compliant with it. And also, it kind of was hurt as well due to there being quite a lot of rain in the city of Winnipeg. Thankfully, not a ton around the stadium itself, but it was a very rainy day. And so a lot of the white jerseys and white shirts were covered up by whatever color poncho you own. But overall, it was a pretty solid game of football. The Bombers really started to kind of come into shape that the way they had hoped to. So Winston Rose did not play this game. He was scratched. So I think this is a great example of one of the things I like about football coaches, a bit more than hockey coaches, is that if you don't perform, you don't play. You don't mess around with it, and that you have to earn your spot on the team. And Houston comes in, and I thought he had quite a solid game. Dane Evans, I thought this was a pretty bad night for Dane Evans. I'm not gonna
but
lie.
It wasn't a good night for Zach Collaros either.
It wasn't great for Zach Collaros, although Dane Evans, it seemed seemingly half his throws were about 18 feet over a guy's head. And it's not even that it was hitting the receiver's arms and going out of bounds or being incomplete. They were just missing.
Yeah.
And this is got to be very concerning for Tiger Cats fans, as the main concern I had going into the season is, after losing all that receiver depth, what do you have left? And now it's like, okay, well, you have receivers. You still have some receivers who are unproven, but we can't even see if they're if they're going to be the way they need to be because the quarterback can't throw to them. So, you guys have a lot. You guys have a lot of things to be concerned about. And this is I don't know if I don't see the Tiger Cats being in the top of the East this year. I could see them maybe having a bounce back later on, but I think that Ottawa and Toronto, despite some of the adversity that both of those teams had, are going to really kind of press forward. But overall, I think the Bombers defense gets kind of into a better rhythm and really more so into what we need to see from them. But the Bombers offense still does need to improve a bit. Calero's had a bit of an off game, but yeah, overall, solid win for the Bombers, 26-12. Now I'll bring us into our next game, which is the Edmonton Elks versus the Calgary Stampeders. So the first meeting of the Battle of Alberta this season goes to Calgary. So 30-23 final score between the Stamps and the Elks. I think we both predicted the Stamps to win this game.
However, so far, the only game that you're off on was the Saskatchewan game. Other than that, we've been right about everything else so far because I took Montreal and you did not. So I'm perfect.
Hey, you know what? Am I wrong on that? Yes, but I'd rather be wrong and see the Riders lose, my friend. I would rather be wrong and see Saskatchewan lose. No offense, Riders, but yeah. So this is a game that really a lot of people were a little bit underwhelmed by, simply boring. Because it turned into a kicking showdown. And as much as it was some pretty, by CFL standards, impressive kicking, overall,
Carter, it's CFL kicking. It doesn't matter. But for a whole game entertainment value, no, not for 22,000 people, almost 23,000 people. That's not a good game. That's not a good look for the Battle of Alberta. They got to be throwing those big plays, and this should be a big game. This should be a big game. And it wasn't. It was a boring game. It sucked. I was looking forward to this game, and it was not good. Not a good game, especially because this was the second highest attendance of the week. With the 22,739, Winnipeg having 23,600. I really wanted this game to be, a big showstopper in the West because the Elks suck, and I thought that maybe if they could be a little bit competitive, just even for a half, it'd be could make for some really entertaining football. And it just wasn't. It was not an entertaining game, in my opinion. But that's just my take on it. And I also don't really have any emotional value staked in these teams. So call me out if you want. But again, this is just one guy's opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it does show that both of these teams are both doing pretty strongly in the kicking department as opposed to, CFL standards, as I said. However, as much as it's good to have a great kicker, that's not going to be enough to win against, the bigger teams in this league, like the Riders when they're playing the way they can, and the Bombers when they're playing the way they can, and like the Argos. So it is what it is, but overall it's a bit of a boring game, anticlimactic for the Battle of Alberta, as it should be, but it is what it is. So I think that'll bring us into our last game, which was the Toronto Argonauts versus the BC Lions.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing but great things to say about the BC Lions right now. It is amazing because the Lions have sucked for so long, and there's been so much, doubt around the Lions. And even in this game, only a 14,000 game for the capacity today. Excuse me. Late night stutter coming in. It is 11:30 currently for me right now, and I just worked today. I am tired, nonetheless. It's been a little rough for the Lions as of late. Coming into this week, they had the bye week in week 2, going into week 3. This game was just immaculate, all around. This was a beast of a performance. And Nathan Rourke sets the CFL record for most yards thrown by a Canadian quarterback in a game, in his second game as the full-time starter with the Lions in his first season. This kid is turned out to be something special. I'm gonna quickly go through the stats real quick for Rourke, and it'll surprise you, ladies and gentlemen. It is crazy nonetheless. Where is it right here? The passing department. He has 718 yards in 2 games. His completion ratings are just insane. It's like you look at his stats for 2 games in, And it's just wow. That's all you can say about it. And this game was just a really entertaining game. 44-3 being the final for the Lions. The stadium open again. Great day in BC for the game. It was a
Roof
dominant
again.
performance. Yes, it was. Which second time I've seen it in my life. So in back-to-back weeks for me. Well, back-to-back games, not weeks, with the bye week, as I said. But nonetheless, really fun time in there. And it was my girlfriend's first time ever being in the stadium and first ever Lions game. So a pretty good game for her to go to for her first. But nonetheless, yeah, this was just a great game. I don't even want to really say anything other than that because it was an ass kicking all around. They put up 3 points in an entire 4-quarter football. And
People
not
are
to mention
sleeping on the line.
they really not anymore. I don't think, even though it's only 2 games.
Some still are. Dude, I was talking with people, and there are still people saying that it's luck, it's this and that. And you know what? It's not luck. It's Lucky Whitehead. That's what it is. You know what I mean? But I mean, like, even the
He's playing
sports
great,
betting,
though, and
you
they're
got
all playing great.
$100 on the Lions here, you would have basically doubled your money. If you bet $100, you would have. Let's see here. You would have a bet of 100. Yeah, you would have returned a profit of $100.
Damn, it's pretty good.
Something like that. You would have made a lot of money.
I actually did win a little bit of money on the Lions, not to boot, because the point spread. But nonetheless, this isn't a plug for sports betting. Nonetheless. But it was just a great game. I don't even like everything about this game was great. A couple guys go down with injuries. It's nothing serious too long term. A couple weeks. Missing about 5 weeks, I think, is the longest injury there. That'll hurt. But the Lions have a lot of depth right now. They're playing really well in all departments. So I think that this is going to be really good for them to be able to test the depth a little bit and see how they can rely on other parts of this team. This was a great game, and the Lions are looking sharp 2 games into this season.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what comes of them going forward. I think this is also very important that they were able to show up for a game like this, due to the fact that they had that bye week. Would that bye week kind of slow some of their momentum? It turns out it didn't, and that's really important, as that can really hurt a lot of teams when they're on a bit of a hot streak. So I'm excited to see what comes of the Lions for the rest of the season.
Me too. So thank you guys so much for watching this recap of week 3 of the CFL. As always, we really do appreciate all the support. Make sure to comment what your favorite game was of the week down in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe regardless of the team that you root for up in this great, beautiful league in the Great White North that we have up here. Thank you so much for watching. As I've already said 3 times, I'm pretty sure. Peace, love, and positivity as always from both me and Carter to you. And goodbye.